Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Club, where we're keeping it surreal and talking about all things odd, mysterious, and paranormal. This is show 18. Tonight, I welcome back my good friend and Reiki master, Krystal Bishop. We're covering a bunch of topics on the paranormal. And we're doing a video conference so you can see our smiling faces. It's candid with mature content and may have some adult language, so be advised. The video version can be found on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@the-rabbit-hole-club. Before we dive in too deep, remember to hit that subscribe button and give this show a thumbs up. Your support is what helps me to keep bringing you fun and freaky shows with colorful guests, interesting ideas, and amazing stories. My channels are full of fun little goodies that'll make you go, and they can all be found on my website, along with all of my social media, YouTube, and podcast links. TheRabbitHole.club. That's right, I said .club. CLUB. As of last week, my show is finally listed with all the podcast distributors. So you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and many more. If you or someone you know would like to share a scare, a show idea, personal experience, or anything else odd and unusual, you can call my hotline at 816-514-5084. Leave a message there or send an email to submit@therabbithole.club. And now, here we go, on to the show! Starting this week's episode, let's take a look at the rabbit reel and check out paranormal news around the world. To begin with, I have a correction from last week's excerpt on the CIA providing more info to Congress on the upswing in UFO sightings. I guess they haven't explained all the sightings as mundane, but are now blaming drones and trash to go with the weather balloons and hallucinations. So, if you're one of those people who've had a close encounter, just remember that it's only an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, or a fragment of underdone potato. In other odd news, divers filming for a Discovery Channel show were searching for a downed World War II aircraft in the Bermuda Triangle when they discovered a big chunk of the Space Shuttle Challenger on the ocean floor instead. Imagine their surprise. This is the first piece of the Challenger to be discovered in over 25 years, which is quite incredible considering the craft was thought to have disintegrated completely 37 years ago. In archaeology this week, the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony may have been found under the majestic temple of Taposiris Magna Osiris in Alexandria. I hope I pronounced that right. They've uncovered an incredible tunnel, said to be an engineering marvel, but due to many extreme earthquakes over the centuries, it was collapsed. It might take them a while to excavate, but they've already found coins with Cleopatra's face and a mask said to represent Mark Antony. So I'll keep you posted if I hear more on that. That's not all the weirdness in the world this week, but that's all we have time for right now. And now, down the rabbit hole we go. Hi, Krystal.
Hello.
So how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. This is a good day. I like it.
You and me both. I don't get to see your face this often.
What is this? Like 3 times in 1 year?
That's kind of unusual. I mean, especially since you moved away.
Oh yeah, I know. I was everybody at the wedding too. Oh my God, it was amazing.
That was such a beautiful wedding.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, okay. Thank you for being here again.
Yeah.
I want to get into some paranormal stuff with you because you have some really crazy adventures to share.
Absolutely. And we can talk about yours too. I mean, well, you have, but man, I've had some scary ones but I've had
Yes.
not so good ones too. So
Right.
my mother and kind of her family too, they were very spiritually like they were more psychic, you
Okay.
know, than anything. So my mother was very psychic, and she could like put her hand on somebody and know exactly what was wrong with them,
Wow.
as far as medically, you know. And so she did a lot of that stuff with us. Like I remember when I lived with her a year before she died, and at night she would sit with me and my brother, and she would write names on little pieces of paper and put it in a bowl, and we would close our eyes, pick the paper, and we'd have to say what it was without looking at the paper.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't understand that was like psychic exercises, you
Hmm.
know. And maybe she didn't understand it either, but we just did it for fun,
Yeah, she
you
did.
know.
Yeah, she did. I had a sixth grade teacher who did that to me, and I didn't realize it until I was an adult. So we
Right.
had rain days, okay? And so
Yeah.
one teacher, there were 3 6th grade classes, Symington Elementary.
Uh-huh.
So there were 3 6th grade classes, and on a rain day, one of the teachers would be the one to take all of the classes into her room and figure out some rainy day activities. So this one teacher, and bless her heart, I don't know what prompted her to do this, but she would send me out of the room, close the door, and have the class pick out some object in the room and not
Mm-hmm.
say anything. But whenever I came back in, they were all supposed to be thinking about it, okay? Not looking at it, not
Yeah.
indicating it any way. And I was really good at it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what she was doing, and she singled me out.
Yeah.
Why, at that age, she would have singled me out? Dunno. But she did.
I love that. Everything that you learn as an adult, you have been prepped since the beginning, and then you don't realize it 2 years later.
Yep.
Or, like I said, like in the last podcast, like I just shut myself off. You know, my dad didn't do that kind of stuff. And when my mom died, that was it, you know? So, yeah, she had experiences, like some of her other family members too had experiences seeing their dead relatives and
Mm-hmm.
physically seeing them. And she had an experience where she almost died when she was a young child, and she saw death at the end of her bed. Like he was opening up a book and he was like looking for her name, and she decided she wanted to stay. And then yeah, and she actually was on the brink of death, and her mom had to rush her to the hospital. So, and she's seen spirits, and she knew exactly who they were when they, you know, one of them sat down on her bed one night, and then she found out the next day that that person had passed away. So,
Wow.
yeah, stuff like that. And then when she passed away, like I mentioned to you, and I just found this out, when two of my aunts and my mother died. So one of my aunts died literally a month before my mother. A
Oh,
month exactly.
wow.
June 26th and July 26th, same, literally a month apart. Different reasons, totally different reasons. But when she,
Ouch.
I know, right? It was a very traumatic summer for me when I was 11. So,
Wow.
but anyway, so when my Aunt Lori had passed first, I was sitting outside, and all of a sudden I started smelling roses. I was nowhere near rose bushes. I had no idea. And when my mother passed away, I was walking through the house we were living in at the time, and I just walked through the smell of like pure rose.
Oh,
It's just pure rose smell. And so, like I said, my significance to them and my relatives, the women that have passed my family, is pink roses. So that's why I had 2 pink roses in my wedding bouquet.
oh,
So
that's beautiful.
I know, and I love that. And so when I heard your podcast, and she was telling us that the old granny house, right?
Yes. Yep.
I think that's what happens when people pass. You smell roses. I was like, holy crap!
Yep.
So a special thing for my family, just that's what it is. I was smelling the spirits that were there. So it was freaking mind-blowing, and I love that full circle kind of thing. And that was amazing. And so I've had it in me my whole life, right? You know, and then I did, which is funny because I did Jasmine. You remember that film I did?
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. And so my friend and we had went to the spiritual shop and we got all these things. I didn't dabble in any of this stuff, and we made a whole altar and everything. And all the while I was doing things that I was natural to, that I didn't understand till later in life, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's always being brought up to you until it really hits you, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. But yeah.
Good guides.
Right, absolutely. Sometimes they just have to keep hitting you over the head until you get it. So.
Or other places. I have had my ass kicked a few times.
Literally ass kicked.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. So with my Reiki practice, I use my clairs now, and I've gotten stronger with them, and I've connected with, you know, guides, and I've connected with people's lost loved ones. And so, you know, I'm claircognizant, clairvoyant, and I'm also clairsentient. So I feel a lot. So I've connected with loved ones and stuff. But did I ever tell you about my scariest, like, paranormal encounter?
No.
Okay. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please.
When I lived in Dustin Adair's building at one point, that White House he lived, it was on Troost and Armour, like in the really
Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So I lived on the bottom floor, and it was before my roommate had moved in. And it was when I was dating somebody at one point in my life, and I was in the laundry room. And all of a sudden I heard was like, "What are you doing?" And I turned around. Well, I go, "I'm doing laundry, duh." And I turned around and nobody was right. And then I called down to my boyfriend at the time, who's way down at the end of the hallway. I was like, "Are you here? Did you just ask me something?" He was like, "No." I was like, that was really weird. So then I just felt weird things there, you know? And then later on, I started having nightmares. And one of them was really traumatic, and I ended up screaming from it. It was my boyfriend, but it wasn't my boyfriend. I knew it wasn't. In my dream, it felt so real. It felt so real. And it was like I was in the room, and he was, well, not doing good things to me.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to go that far into it, but it was a very, very scary, very real feeling dream. And I ended up screaming from it, waking up from it. You know, he had to wake me up because I was screaming. He's like,
"Wow,
what the hell's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so traumatized." And so my first experience with cleansing. So I went to a shop in the Crossroads, and I don't think it's there anymore. It was right beside Grinders. It's like it was across the street from Grinders.
I don't think it's there anymore.
Yeah, it's not there anymore. But I talked to this lady, and I was like, I really need something. Something's going on. And I told her my experiences, and she was like, "Oh, you need to cleanse your house." And she was like, well, I didn't tell her my exact dream, but she was like, "Where do you live?" And I told her where I lived. And she was like, "Back in the day, there was a man there who raped and killed a lot of women in that area, like that exact area." And I shit you not, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because then I told her my dream, what happened.
Right.
Yeah, so she got me house blessing, I got sage, I got all the things, and I started doing everything and intentionally putting my intentions out to cleanse the area, right? And not knowing anything about this stuff, it just comes naturally once you start getting into it, right?
Yep.
And after that, I had no issues. Like, it was gone. But it was very frightening, and I had never had that, like, close of an encounter like that before. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds like it was an astral experience.
Yeah.
Which can be very lucid and very terrifying whenever it's on the lower planes.
Absolutely. So I do probably astral project a lot, and I used to think it was just sleep paralysis, but honestly, to me, it's not sleep paralysis, it's astral projecting.
Yes.
Because you are your soul just can't get out of your body. And sometimes, you know, when you're trying to move, it's just your soul not coming out of your body. Sometimes I can get in my
Right.
body, right? That's just
Well,
it.
well, and I've had entities come to me while I was in that state, and they lower the vibration so much that I can't move. And it's an attack. It's a tactic for
Uh-huh.
them. I've even had them grab me by my feet and drag me out of bed.
Mm,
And it wasn't my body that was going, but I felt like I was passing through my body.
yeah.
I
That's your
have
soul.
all, they're
Yeah,
scary. But once you recognize what they are and what exactly is going on, and that you're literally being attacked, then
absolutely.
you can wake yourself up,
Hmm.
and that will help a lot.
I've had dreams where, like, one time, I had a lot of demonic dreams, and like one time I was in a room and like Satan was trying to get through, and you don't let them through. You just don't
Right.
let them. I was praying and everything. So now at times when I do have dreams where I'm fighting demons or I'm really confronting them, I will get my ass up to them and I will say, and I will, you know, you gotta tell them to get the out of there or
That's
get the.
right.
You can't screw with me. You have to stand up to that shit.
Yep.
Because you know you can't leave in fear is such a lower vibrational energy. You know you can't do that because then they'll be able to you're vulnerable then. So you have to learn how to become stronger. So I have nightmares all the time, or whatever dreams I have. My husband's just like always just like, oh my god, what the heck? Okay, and I'm like, yeah, I have these all the time. It's fine. I'm good. I just tell them to go f themselves, and it's fine, you know. And I just stand with them, and you know, so yeah. But
I was down in New Orleans one time,
oh yeah,
and oh yeah, and we were staying right across the street from a friend of mine's. She has the esoterica occult goods shop down there, and she is a Wiccan witch. And
I love that.
we were in her shop, and she wanted to show us her library, which was full of really amazing books and things. She pops one of these books out, she opens it up, and she starts just like rattling off this summons for some pretty nasty guys. And I stopped her right in the middle and I said, wait, whoa, hold it. What
Doing
are you doing?
absolutely not.
Well, and she said to me, oh no, it's fine. As long as you're calling them up to do something good, it's
Okay,
okay. And I said, okay, then you can wait until I leave because I'm not in for this.
sign up for this. You can, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
So
are super important, but like that kind of stuff, you got to be very careful because they have a mind of their own too. Just because you have intentions you want, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. So
that's right. They're the best liars in the universe.
I
Well,
do not.
they're good at it because they take the truth and they color it. So it
Absolutely.
sounds really good, but it's really not. Well,
And
this guy showed up in our apartment that night. Yeah, and it was ugly. There were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us in this little flat. And we all knew it was there, even the people who didn't necessarily believe in that kind of thing. Everybody was like, oh my God, what is that? So I ended up doing a binding and sending it on. And when I did, I kissed it right on the nose. I love you. And I sent it on its way. And I said, you leave now. And when it did, there was this giant pop, like glass breaking or like a gunshot. It reverberated through the whole room, but then
yeah,
it was gone.
yeah.
So, not into those kinds of things. I've had to deal with them a lot. New Orleans is full of them.
I'm sure you got a lot of, you know, when you go to places with a lot of lower vibrational like energies with people too. And
Yep.
you know, you can tell and you can feel it in the town, you know.
Yep.
Either so heavy or it's just like I don't want to say dirty, but it's just kind of like, you know, just
Yeah.
miserable, and you can tell, So
Well, I don't want to say this about my own hometown, but it's rather heavy here nowadays,
yeah.
especially compared to Utah, which is someplace I have been entertaining moving to.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, it's so light there. So
Yeah.
light. Even in light of everything that goes on around Utah. It's
Hmm.
just so light there. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. Where you're just like, oh my God, I feel so good here. You
Mhm.
know, those are the places you need to go to. Or if it's on your purpose or your life path, you'll be placed in places where people need you.
Yep.
Um, like the places I've gone who are like, thank you for being here. I appreciate you doing this work. And, you know,
Oh.
um, it's, it's very interesting because you're like, okay, I want to be a service to other people in my work. And, it's not all about money, and, it's really helping others. But it's hard. It is really hard. It's hard not to get caught up in the negative energies.
Yep.
It's hard caught up in all the hatred. It's hard not to feel that and to come back to your own. So,
Yep.
but yeah. Whew.
So I live right now in Midtown, Kansas
Yeah.
City, which
Okay.
is they call it the hood, and they're not joking. It's pretty hardcore. We listen to gunshots
Yeah.
all the time, every day. People emptying clips. Some of them are automatic even. They're just it's the vibe here is very heavy and very sad and very angry. As
Very
an
much so.
empath, that's hard. That's tough
Yeah.
to deal with. And I have a ghost here in my house.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't heard much about this, but I want to know more about your ghosty ghost.
Okay, so I have a ghost in my house. His name is Tony. I know this
Tony,
because he told me his name was Tony.
so let's clarify. How did he tell you? How did you perceive it? And which Claire was it? Like, do you see it? Do you hear it? Do you visualize it? Or do you just,
Okay, all of the above, depending on the situation.
absolutely.
But in this particular situation, he was being very nasty. He doesn't like people going downstairs. He was being very loud. He was being very cranky. He was scaring people, including my granddaughter. And I finally put my foot down and said, no, we can't do this anymore. And I made a deal with him. I was like, okay, you stay in the back room in the basement, mind your P's and Q's down there, leave me with the rest of the house. We'll live peacefully. Otherwise, I'm calling in the heavy guns.
There you
So
go.
there's your choice. But no, I figured out his name because he told me over a ghost box.
Oh, nice. Do you give Tony gifts, or do you like, hey, you're doing great and we have a great situation here. Here's a toy or something. Do
To
you
be
give him?
honest, I didn't before. I don't know what happened, but Tony suddenly disappeared.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I'm hoping that
Yeah,
he found some peace.
yeah, that would be good.
He did tell me, and he told me this through meditation.
Mhm.
He did tell me that he was a suicide victim and that he'd killed himself in this house.
So he's
So,
full of heaviness.
yes, yeah, he was a
Yeah.
mess. Now, I have not been able to verify that through any kinds of records because this particular neighborhood doesn't really keep those types of records.
No.
Just because the guy gave me his full name doesn't mean that I can go and find it because he may have been living with his grandmother or with his mom or with somebody he wasn't even on the lease, you
Absolutely.
know? So I don't know. The first time I walked into this house, I met a cute little old lady, and she was very excited that we were going to be moving in here. And once we moved in, I never heard another word from her.
Mm.
Very strange. I do have a lot of entities and energies that come through this house. A lot of them. And some of them stay really, and I know this sounds really bizarre, but oh, my dog. Say hello, Cookie.
sweetie.
Hi, Cooks. Oh. Um, anyways, I have a lot of strange energies that come through this house.
Is it a
And what was that?
is it a vortex? Do
So
you
I
live?
think that I'm a vortex.
Oh,
But
okay.
so I have a lot of energies that come to me and they just want to be drawn or painted. And as soon as I draw or paint them, they go away.
You just want to be acknowledged, you know?
And there are some of them, I've had two of them that I refuse to acknowledge. I
Yeah.
told them that there was no way I was going to draw them because they already had a foothold on this world that they didn't deserve. So,
Yeah.
and that was actually last week I talked about the nun on one of
Uh-huh.
my, and that was a bad deal. She came to me wanting to be drawn, and I told her, nope, not a chance.
No,
Nasty, ugly thing.
no, thank
But I
you.
only had to do that twice, where I told an entity, no way. Otherwise, good, bad, or indifferent, I usually draw them. It's a gorgeous drawing. They go away.
Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. That's fantastic. Like, who would have thought, you know?
I
That kind
didn't.
right? That kind of purpose. And then you were just like, hey, I'm just going to draw them. And then it just one day out of the blue, you just do it. And it just happens like that sometimes, you know?
Yep,
So
I had one, and it was a fairy. I do a lot of fairy stuff. I love the
I
fairies.
I love like seeing fairies during like my Reiki work and my sessions with people. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
yep. But be careful with fairies. Do not screw with them.
Yep.
Don't screw with them.
No, you be respectful of them and show a lot of love and respect, and they will return that in kind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're very earthly, like materialistic kind of earthy creatures. And I love that. And I'll call on them sometimes, you know, but I'm not, you know, in I don't really call on a lot of things. I mainly work with angels and archangels and things like that, especially during my line of work. And then I will encounter people's past loved ones, or they may have an attachment to them because I've been like, okay, so there's this white-haired old lady, da da da, and they don't know who I'm talking about, or there's this high schooler that's been hanging around with you and thinks she's really cool, but thinks you're really cool. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that guy's a realtor. So he's gone through all sorts of different kind of houses.
So he has attachments.
They have attachments, and I
Yep.
didn't realize that. You just learn it as you go. And I
Yep.
didn't realize later because I'm like, I know, I saw, you know, because I've described people to, you know, my clients, and they're like, oh, that's my grand, or
Right.
you know, stuff like that. And so you got to trust that you know and what you see is real. And that's the
Yep.
whole thing about my practice. And then working with your psychic abilities is trusting yourself that what you're seeing is what you're seeing.
Yes.
Or what you're hearing is what you're hearing, because when you get into your ego and you question stuff, or you think it's stupid, or you know, talk bad about it, that's when you lose your abilities because you're not trusting yourself enough to get the right answers. I have a dear friend from college who, it was about 2 years ago, and I was sitting there and she wrote a post on Facebook about her mom because our moms passed about the same time when we were really young. And I just had this pink elephant in my head. And I'm sitting here wrestling with myself and going, dang it, do I need to tell her this? Do I sound crazy? Pink elephant? Like, come on, like, that's so weird. So, you know, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to message her. We'll just go with it. She thinks I'm crazy, whatever. And I go, I was shown a pink elephant in reference to your mom's post. Does that mean anything to you? And she goes, oh my God, yes. She goes, they used to watch Dumbo together with the pink elephant.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, thank God. It meant something. You just have to trust and trust that you're getting the messages you need to come across, or what will happen, you know? Sometimes it won't happen, but they're preparing that person for what will happen too. So yeah. But yeah,
about 10 years old, my grandfather was a hardcore Marine. He was a Marine DI for World War II and the Korean War. Okay. Yeah, so he was hardcore. He was the one who taught me how to make a bed so tight you could bounce a quarter off of it. But he didn't have any take with this kind of thing at all. He poo-pooed it. He was a hardcore Baptist guy.
Yep.
And so his mother passed away when I was about 10 years old. And after she passed away, we were on our way down to the funeral. It was in southern Missouri. And I had this dream that was so lucid. It's very lucid to me now, and I'm 55 years old. And I remember walking into this white house, and in the middle of the floor, there were these very abrupt stairs that went up. So I went up into this hole in the floor, and there was my great-grandmother sitting in this big white room with plants, and she was in her rocking chair. And so I sat at her feet, and we talked for a while. And she, from nowhere, she says, "You tell that daughter of mine, both of them, to quit fighting over my kitty cat teapot." And I was like, okay. So I told my grandfather about it when we were on our way to the funeral. And he got really quiet, and the tears just started streaming down his face. I was just a kid. I had no clue. I was just telling him about my dream, you know? And so it turned out that there was indeed this teapot that his two sisters were fighting over. And Grandpa stepped in and he bought the teapot, and all of a sudden it appeared on the top of their hutch. And I was like, oh, is that the kitty cat teapot?
That's fantastic. I love that.
Insane. Okay, so
go ahead.
I was going to say, go ahead. I think what?
Oh, no big deal. I was going to say that people get so weird over the term psychic, but like everybody has these abilities. It's whether or not they want to actually try and work on them and practice them to expand your abilities. It's about, it's about practicing. It's about doing it. It's about doing the exercises and putting in the work, and you can have all different kinds of specialties. And you mentioned past life regression in the last podcast. And my specialty kind of is actually seeing people's past lives in my sessions or when I'm working on distance Reiki. And, it will give me messages. I won't see like a whole life. I'll see one scene or something like that of somebody's past life, and it'll give me a message of what it means. Why am I seeing this? It will tell me, because I'll ask, why am I seeing this? What message do they need? And I found that out on my Reiki Master Retreat, and it was very traumatic the way usually I'll see how people die. And it was very traumatic how this one girl died because we were working on her as a group, and just tears rolling down my face. And so I think it's just about if people want to learn or continue, it's just about opening yourself up and going, okay, guides, help me learn, help me. Like, you have to ask for help, right? So you have to connect. Right. You have to connect. You have to ask for help. Angels won't really do much unless you really ask, and guides are there, but you have to connect with them. You have to co-create with them as well.
Yep, so. Absolutely. One of the things that I've discovered about people is fear. They're very afraid to get into these things because of, let's just take The Exorcist for an example. The movie The Exorcist scared the shit right out of you. Why? Absolutely. Because it touches on a real basis, and people understand that even subconsciously. So they're afraid to get involved with any kind of spirit because they're afraid of being possessed. But here's the trick to that. You have to give full permission for possession.
It's all about your intention. It's all about your intentions.
That's right.
You have to say yes. And you have to have good and clear intentions with what your practice is and what you want to learn and what you're willing to learn. If you see something in your uh journey and it scares the crap out of you, you can say, no, I don't want that.
Yep.
I'm not. And it will shut down. They will shut it. You
Yep.
don't need my I had a Reiki master one time, and with her, she was giving it to me, distance sessions, because you can do that, and I can literally feel everything in my body. And when I do distance sessions for other people, I can feel if they're walking or sitting up or anything like that. But I was having a session with her, and she told me that I always am like, I want to see my mom. Like, I physically want to see my mother. I miss her. I love her. I've always kind of said that. But she told my Reiki master teacher that it wasn't a good idea for me because I wouldn't stop crying. Because I would just be crying the whole damn time.
I can so relate to that. My mother was my very best friend, and when she left this plane, it destroyed me for a long time. And I still have such a hole. She comes to see me in my dreams,
Right.
and every now and then I'll smell her, or I'll get some smart-ass remark come through my head in her voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My mom was in my dreams not too long ago, and it was very different because she doesn't see me in my dreams very often, ever. And if she does, she never says anything to me. It's the weirdest thing. But I remember this dream like 2 weeks ago. She actually came to me. We had conversations. I hugged her. It was a whole thing. And subconsciously exactly what you talked about in those dreams, but sometimes you don't remember exactly when you're waking. But it was very significant. Something was very significant about it. I don't remember exactly, but my soul does. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do.
It's very interesting. It was a very big thing that she came to me, and it's funny because I think I had a mental breakdown the night before or something. And I really need her.
Did you melt down just a little bit?
Oh, it's been meltdown, September or November, whatever. We're October. It was a meltdown. Time goes by so quickly. Time doesn't exist. So anyway, yeah. So it's very interesting. When you have intentions, make sure you're clear with your intentions. But don't go screw around with that crap like your Wiccan friend. Just stay away from it. If you really want crazy shit to happen in your life, have fun. But yeah, we don't want to be a part of it.
It's probably not a great idea to use a Ouija board either.
Just thinking that, and you know what my thought was right before you said that? I was thinking about the Ouija board. I was like, people freak out about the Ouija board, and then you go, it's probably not a good idea. So it's like you're answering my thoughts.
So here's the deal, man. It's because it opens a portal.
It does.
Okay. And if you don't know how to close that portal,
yep,
anything can come through. And the bad guys have a whole lot less to be doing with their free time than the good guys do.
You are absolutely correct about that. And you're right. And it doesn't have anything to do with intentions, because sometimes entities will lie to you.
That's right.
And be something else. So you really do not want to screw with that kind of stuff.
That's right.
But that's not the same,
Nope, not the same.
I only connect with my guides with my pendulum. So
right.
But yeah, I think I did a glow in the dark Ouija board for my 6th grade party one time.
Right. Oh, I'm guilty. I did them whenever I was younger. Crazy things happened, like candles blowing themselves out and things moving around and little girls screaming and crying.
Not great.
Not okay.
Not the best thing you want to have around, yes. So,
nope.
Absolutely. So, but it's a journey, the paranormal experience. And
yeah.
As much as I want to be like, I want to go ghost hunting, one, would I be scared shitless?
Depends on who you were with and where you were.
And that's what I was thinking. I was like, if I was gonna go, I would rather be with Colleen and like, someone who really understands the stuff and feels it too, because I'm very clairsentient. So I'll feel that stuff. And it's funny because I've been in a place where people are like, oh, it's so haunted. And I'm like, I don't feel anything. Am I supposed to feel something?
Right, but you go to shoot a movie or a commercial not expecting anything, and there they are.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm walking through, what is this, Spider-Man? No.
Yes.
It really
that happened.
Crazy mist. It was so cool. And it had happened when you were there, and I thought that was awesome. So
that was incredibly cool. I had forgotten about that until you mentioned it in the last show.
Oh, absolutely. That was really neat. It was such a simple thing, and you're just like, oh, it's just a ghost or a spirit. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. On to the next spot.
As long as they're not being mean, we're all good to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I've been on some haunted house investigations where people swore that it was a demonic possession or a demonic haunting. And about 9.5 times out of 10, it's just a really pissed off spirit.
Very pissed. It seems because you can feel their anger, anguish, or sadness. But, yeah. So, but yeah, have I been in those situations where I'm clearing stuff out? Not really. I just clear my house and stuff. I'm sure you've had your fair share of, I need to clean this area. I need to banish these spirits. I have yet to get there with my practice, but maybe that is not my purpose or path in this life. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm going to take the haunted houses for an example, because when I was working down there, they were extremely haunted.
Yeah.
All of them. That whole area is very haunted. And some of them were very violent.
Why do you think it was? Was it the past, like being down there in the industrial area where
some of it's the history of the people who lived there or worked there, and some of it was the history of the people who worked in the haunted houses who deliberately called things in. Yeah, but I came to find out that I couldn't do any cleaning on that place without the property owner's permission.
Ha! So they wanted them there.
Yep, they wanted them there.
There was certain houses that were more heavy than others.
Yeah.
I know when I went through them, but some of them I was just like, this is not scary. It's like whatever. But yeah, that is kind of messed up, I guess. So
it is.
It was murdered, right?
Right. Yeah.
But okay, we're attachments from them. So
yes, absolutely. And some of these people have some crazy attachments. Okay, we're down to like our last 30 seconds, girl.
I love you. This has been a lot of fun talking about all this stuff.
I love you too, and we should do way more.
Oh yeah, I agree. We can do more. I love you.
I love you too. Have a good night. Thank you.
Right.
Bye. That's my show for this week. Special thanks to my wonderful boyfriend and to my amazing family for helping me get this project off the ground and rolling it to a good place. Next week, I'm with my oldest son, Aaron Caponetto, and we'll be hashing out some strange, scary, odd, and fun paranormal experiences we've had together. He'll talk about what it was like growing up with the high strangeness that is and always has been my life, including really haunted commercial haunted houses. Thanks for listening, and keep it surreal.